This episode is brought to you by Shopify. Upgrade your business with Shopify, home of the #1 checkout on the planet. Shop Pay boosts conversions up to 50%, meaning fewer carts going abandoned and more sales going cha-ching. So if you're into growing your business, get a commerce platform that's ready to sell wherever your customers are. Visit shopify.com to upgrade your selling today.
This episode is brought to you by Unstoppable. Discover the inspiring true story about Anthony Robles, who defied every expectation to become a national wrestling champion in Unstoppable, a new original movie from Amazon MGM Studios and director William Goldenberg, evoking the excitement and camaraderie of classic sports dramas and thrilling wrestling matches. Unstoppable features an all-star ensemble cast, including Jarrell Jerome, Jennifer Lopez, Don Cheadle, Michael Pena, and Bobby Cannavale. Watch Unstoppable now, exclusively on Amazon Prime Video.
What is going on, everybody? Eagles get the W 28-22. I can't feel my heart right now. We're going to break down our top reaction, top takeaways, Eagles game in 3 words or less, grading Jalen Hurts, player of the game, all that and more. Joining me, he is Shane Happ at Shane Happ NFL on X. What's up, Shane?
According to my Apple Watch, I just had a cardiac event, so I'll let you know in a few minutes. We'll see.
Also joining us, my man Rob Lange at Philly_Madness on X. Give him a follow. What's up, Rob?
I think this is going to be the first time in the history of me potting with you guys that I don't know what to say. I am absolute my heart I can feel pounding through my chest because I won't lie. I'll be the first to tell you. There was no way I saw them winning that game as Puka catches that ball deep down the right sideline. But we say it all the time in the playoffs, survive in advance, and Jesus Christ, they survived and they're advancing, so let's go.
For back-to-back weeks, I agree. After Puka caught that ball and with Vic Fangio going to his horrible prevent defense, that is just gives me so much stress. But the Eagles squeak out a victory. They move on to the NFC Championship game against the Washington Commanders, against Jaden Daniels, against Frankie Luvu. Oh, my gosh. There's so much to unravel with that matchup. We have finally a real rivalry, NFC East rivalry brewing before us. But I'm going to throw this to you, Shane. Where do you want to go? Lead us off, man. There's no script on this thing.
After Saquon Barkley ripped off his 78-yard touchdown run, the Eagles had a 99% win probability, according to Next Gen Stats. And it comes down to the Rams in the red zone with under a minute to play with a chance to win the game. Man, it felt like the Falcons game. It felt like the first Commanders game, the second Commanders game. And this time Jalen Carter pulls it out and makes a big play at the end. But I don't even know, man. There's so much you can talk about in this game. The offense was atrocious. This was a terrible offensive line game. This was a terrible Jalen Hurts game. This was a terrible A.J. Brown game. So everybody I just mentioned can thank the defense and thank Saquon Barkley. Because that's what carried the team today. I mean, obviously there's inclement weather. Jalen's playing with who knows what the injury is to his knee, the severity of that late in the game. But this was a rough game offensively, and the defense did enough to bring this one home.
Guys, if you're watching this live, please be sure to comment like Sean. Thank God for Jalen Carter. That's the title of this post game. Jalen Carter saved the season. Just an absolute beast between that sack, the forced fumble. You can go on and on. Even that last play, I believe Jalen Carter was in on that pressure. at the very end there.
He absolutely was.
Just a ton of emotions of this with Quinyon Mitchell, being out early in this one, and just so many mistakes. I feel like they lost every 50-50 ball. I feel like they missed every play for the majority of this game. The ball was seemingly going to the Rams every time. And it was just a very frustrating game. Rob, lead us off before we get into Jalen Hurts.
Yeah, I think frustrating is a good word to put it. You think things happening that don't normally happen. A.J. Brown dropping a pass. They dropped a couple interceptions. I mean, DeJean has one right in his hands, before the Puka play that seals the game. But they found a way, and that's what I'm going to try and keep coming back to that, because it's not week 8 where we can sit here now and go, oh no, it's the playoffs. And the key thing is to win the game. They made enough plays to win the game, but the defense, I thought through most of the game until those last 2 drives, did a great job. I thought, they kept Kyron Williams in check for the most part. I know he had 100 yards, but he had to work for it. Jalen Carter is just a game wrecker in every sense of the word. It's unbelievable. And give credit to guys like Oren Burks, who had to step in today with Nakobe Dean going down. Listen, Isaiah Rodgers made some nice plays in this game. I know he wasn't great, but he made some nice plays in this game, having to go in once Q goes out. So, look, I'm not worried about next week yet, because that's a whole nother thing. But frustrating is definitely a word, but I will say very relieved that we're playing again on Sunday.
Talk about the emotions of Jake Elliott. Horrible, missing those PATs. And then in the second half, he made what, 3 field goals, clutch field goals?
And crushed them.
And then misses a PAT again.
And then misses the PAT. And that could have cost him the game.
Why is he continuing to go to that left hash if he keeps pushing everything that way? Come back to the middle. You're going to make it. Just come back to the middle.
Unbelievable, man. If you guys sat here in complete silence for 20 minutes, I wouldn't even be mad. Honestly, I wouldn't even been mad if they lost. They deserved to lose. There were so many mistakes, so much miscommunication, so many mistakes, so many missed opportunities. The sacks, putting them out of field position, you go on and on. This was a masterclass of disaster for the Eagles, especially on offense. And they pulled it out. Saquon, at the end of the day, his greatness, and the Eagles defense making plays as they have these last few weeks, man. Hopefully Q's injury is not serious. Agreed. Lane Johnson's false start. Just the play calling there was so ridiculous. You have second and 2 on the second and goal on the 2-yard line. Push it 3 times. Boom, put it in. You're running down their throats.
Yeah.
Run the ball. And they're rolling out Jalen Hurts, who can't even run. It was just ridiculous.
Yeah. It almost was like they were afraid to push it because of the injury. And then they were like, well, damn it, we have to try now. And Lane Johnson fought. There were so many things that went wrong. And I think that we have to look at that positive of, listen, we've said all year, this team's identity, play defense, run the ball. Well, the only reason they won the game today was because they played defense and they ran the ball just enough with 3 big runs to win the game. It's funny when Saquon goes for that last run, there was part of me that's like, I hope he slides down at the 10 so we can run another minute off of the clock here and then maybe just kick another field goal, because I was so scared of 4.5 minutes.
That play where there were so many times in this game where they could have just ran the ball down the Rams' throats. They were running it so effectively. Yes. And they just were Kellen Moore, man.
Yeah, he was bad
more
today.
And more I see this guy these last few weeks, the more and more I'm just just go to Dallas. Just go to Dallas and pack your bags. You might have them packed already. But just the execution too, the miscommunication from the pass protection of the Eagles O-line. We'll go in depth with each one of these, but the drops, the penalties in the red zone, the complete and utter undisciplined play from the Birds It was a frustrating game. Shake says, hope Kellen gets a head coaching job. The guy has no flow. Burks, my man Tech, what's going on, Tech? Thanks for joining. Eagles could not have had more of a messy game execution-wise. Run game was on point. I mean, that's lots to clean up these last 2 weeks, but like Rob said, survive and advance. That is the theme of that. Is that 3 words, Shane? I'm just throwing that out there.
Yes, it is.
That will be a segment for at the end of the show. Let's get to the Eagles offense, leading off with Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts finished this one 15 of 20 for 128 yards. He took 7 sacks in this one. He did run for 70 yards, but I'm pretty sure like the bulk of that was like in the first 2 possessions. He's holding on the ball too long. I know he got hurt, but and I'll be the first one to say, Kellen Moore, the game plan was horrible. I didn't like the game plan from the jump. But Jalen Hurts, man, you got to get rid of the football. Shane, how would you grade Jalen Hurts? What were your thoughts?
He was really bad today. He was really bad. There was so many instances of him making poor decisions, him taking sacks, and it's hard to truly evaluate the second half because you don't know how much the injury is playing into it. But there were just, it wasn't even the safety. Like, I know we can talk about what the heck are we doing calling a drop back pass in the shadow of our own goal line with the quarterback who just came out of a medical tent with a knee brace on, and we don't know if he can move at all. Like, that's stupid. But he had Devontae Smith so wide open right in front of him. He had a check down to the flat. Like, he was trying to throw the ball deep. Why are we trying to take a deep shot against split safeties in the shadow of our own end zone? So it was a rough game for Jalen. And so much of what he brings to the table is his mobility, his threat in the run game, his ability to scramble. And when he gets rolled up and that's taken away, you get really concerned about what the offense is going to be able to do. And I think that more than the snow really handicapped the team in the second half when you're playing with when so much of your offense is built on that mobility and that's taken away and you have snow pouring down. It's going to be really tough sledding for the offense. This was actually Jalen's fastest time to throw in a game this season at 2.81 seconds, but he was constantly under pressure. The interior offensive line especially was horrendous.
Yes.
A.J. Brown was not generating separation. And I don't know. I didn't think A.J. Brown really looked hurt last week, but he's not generating separation. And so maybe you start to wonder about that again. And then you get him dropping the ball twice in this game. And A.J. Brown had a streak of 116 targets without a drop. And he drops it twice today. And so it was just a rough performance all around. But I thought Jalen Hurts really struggled today. And I thought the defense and then a couple big runs from Barkley. And Barkley didn't consistently move the chains. It was snapping off a couple big runs, which is important. But the offense was a bit of a disaster all day.
But even still, just real quick, Rob, I feel like his vision or lack thereof was on full display, like Shane said. Once he didn't have his first read, he looked so panicked in the pocket. Go ahead, Rob.
I was just going to say it almost looked like the Eagles were the team that didn't play well in the snow. I mean, God, I hope next week's forecast isn't calling for friggin' snow on Sunday. Like, Jesus Christ. The Rams receivers were getting open. They had space because the Eagles defense was playing a little bit, they didn't want to slip. I understand that. Kellen Moore's game plans have been, why the long developing routes again in snow at your own 2-yard line? Like, what are you thinking? And I get what Shane's saying, that there may have been a guy for Jalen. I'm not taking all the blame off of Jalen, but I have just been very unimpressed, more so than not, with Kellen Moore this year.
Yeah. And what makes me even more upset, I know it's minimal, but on that 4th and 4, they did the slant to A.J. Brown. and we've been pounding the table to see more and more of that. And he does it on the biggest play of the game. Where was it?
That was a dart, by the way.
It was a great pass.
Where is that? Like the last, 6 quarters. Like I don't understand. And that is Kellen Moore's kind of resume is abandoning and maybe the playbook being too thick and kind of going away from the flow of the game, what's working and what's not working. But at the end of the day, they get the W. This is what Jalen Hurts does. We're getting a lot of comments, no slander on the defense. There's some concerns about the defense, but I agree for the most part. Any other thoughts on – go ahead, bro.
I was just going to say one of the comments says unsatisfactory win. I don't believe that's a thing in the playoffs. I'm sorry. I can't say they're all satisfactory. You get the win. You get to move on. You get to play another week. Yeah, there's issues. But, listen, I'm not happy with the way the offense played today. But if I'm not going to sit here all week and be like, oh, they deserved it. They should have lost. Well, regardless, they won. And they're playing in the NFC Championship. And because the Lions lost, it's at the link. So all bets are off now.
Yep.
Cam Jurgens and Mekhi Becton combined to allow 9 pressures and 3 sacks in this game.
And when those sacks were, I feel like, so untimely. Like they were the sacks that took them out of field goal range.
Yeah.
Like,
there were 7 in the game, right?
Yes.
I'd say at least 3 were on Hurts holding the damn ball too long and not getting rid of it and not throwing the ball away. And this is pre-injury. This is like those couple of times where it took him out of field goal range. He's got to learn to get the friggin' ball out of there. Like, I just don't understand it. He still drives me nuts with that.
Yep. Tony G says Stafford holds on to the ball too long, sacked 5 times. I know it's snowing, but how concerned should we be about Jalen Hurts in the passing game? That's been the storyline the last 8 quarters of playoff football. It's still a major concern. A.J. Brown with the possible touchdown drop. There were just bad play all across the board. It's not just the passing game. I think the pass protection from the O-line, especially on the interior, I always call it a hater all week long on YouTube from the comments about the interior O-line going up against this Rams D-line. And my goodness. By the way, what was my score prediction, Rob?
I'm guessing it was close. I listen, I'm like, my brain doesn't work right now. I can't think back 5 minutes ago, let alone Monday.
Yeah. By the way. Anyway, I'm not going to say. Anyway, any other thoughts on Hurts?
I took Stafford over a half-yard rushing winner.
Yeah, me too. Let's get.
I have got to stop giving out the Matthew Stafford doesn't scramble stat. Like, real talk. How does a 36-year-old white quarterback that doesn't move scramble, and our rookie superstar cornerback gets a shot at him in the open field, and he's the one that comes up hurt? How does that happen? Like, oh my gosh.
This game had such a weird feel, man. Everything like that. It was so weird.
It was weird. The interior line has struggled in pass protection. Absolutely. But when they look great, like Cam Jurgens, it's Kelsey-esque. Brandon says Jalen Hurts owes Jalen Carter his game check. I absolutely
more owes him.
Absolutely. How good was Jared Verse tonight? He was a beast.
In the 2 playoff games, the interior offensive line has allowed 19 pressures and 5 sacks.
Whew.
In 2 games. Ooh. 19 pressures and 5 sacks in 2 games.
Shake says this team is too talented to play like this. I'm not so happy. Come on, guys. Let's enjoy this. Let's enjoy
the NFC Championship game. Stop it.
I know. We're 1 win away from the Super Bowl. Come on. Let's pump the brakes. Let's have a big picture look at this. I wanted Verse to get shut out, but, man.
He's a great player.
He was terrific.
He's a great player.
He is a beast.
Real talk. I think the Verse stuff is great. I love it. Like,
I do too.
I love a guy like, whatever. You want to have a beef with the fan base? You want to give it to the fans playfully? I mean, he's all smiles. Like,
while he's
I don't care at all. I think it's fun.
No,
it's good for football.
That's football.
Exactly.
That's good football.
That's not the kind of stuff that I dislike. The Orlando Scandrick stuff. The all the Eagles fans are trash stuff. I've got no problem with a player, giving it back to a fan base and having a good time with it. And I truly think that's what Verse is doing. Kudos to him. Like, I think it's good for football. I think it's fun.
Brett Eclipse says the interior O-line needs to step up big time next week. Jonathan Allen, did anybody see him? He was a monster. He's a beast. That's going to be a problem. We'll get to that next week. Please with the rosy crap. Do you think the pass game gets it together or it'll eventually cost us? We'll see. That's all. It's going to be all on Jalen Hurts for sure. But the good news is the Commanders' run game is absolutely garbage. And I feel like run defense is garbage. They have a really good shot if they stay healthy. What's the verdict on Elliott? Clutch on the field goals, but cooked on extra points.
No, I'm telling you, I move him back to the center on the extra points. Everything he's moving is pushing left. Get off of that hash mark. What are you doing?
There's a beauty in winning messy. I'd take 2 more games like that if it meant winning the Super Bowl. Absolutely. We're 4.5 favorites. As stressful as this was, I'm ecstatic of this win. It's a well-coached team with a great quarterback in terrible conditions. You take this 10 out of 10 times. As long as Elliott can clean it up, yeah. All right, let's roll on to Saquon Barkley and him continuing to break records. I'm sure there's a lot. Went over 200 yards rushing. Like Shane said, a bulk of these were the explosive plays, as he's done all year long. 26 carries, 205 yards, 2 touchdowns. Got involved with the check down game a little bit with Hurts. I want to see more of that. That should be a staple of this Eagles offense. But what more can be said, man? He had his moment. How many yards does he have to go to break the all-time record? Does anybody know that? If you know it in the comments, I mean, he's
I don't know. I know he got up to number 5 for.
He needs 149 yards.
149 yards all time. That's insane. Yeah. That's definitely.
And this was the 5th best rushing game in the history of the NFL in the playoffs.
Yeah, I'm sure there are a lot of stats, but the Eagles gained almost 300 yards on the ground, 3 touchdowns. Kenny Gainwell, sorry, Ryan, had a very strong role in this one, came in strong when they needed him. Rob, lead us off. What were your thoughts on the run game?
Well, I thought I thought they should have did it more. If I'm being totally honest with you, I thought there were too many times in this game where they got back into that. We're going to try and throw the ball, and it was these long developing routes. I thought, listen, on that last drive to try and end the game, you got 4 yards on the first play or 3 yards on the first play with Saquon Barkley. Run it again. There was no reason for the rollout there. And there really was never going to be a reason. But if you do that, wait until it's 3rd down. Not right there. Run the friggin' football again. It seemed like every time they didn't gain 4 or 5 on the first run, they refused to run it back-to-back plays. And that's just stupid with this team. Your offensive line is a better run blocking team than pass blocking team. Now they've now shown, especially on the interior, they're road graders. Let them cook. And when they do, I mean, Saquon had 2 big runs, but they are a running football team, and I don't know why they feel this need sometimes to just go away from it. Like, stay with it, man. You don't just go away from it because they stop you on one play. And that's the frustrating thing from an offensive perspective, because they are really good at running the football.
Yeah. What about you, Shane?
Yeah, Saquon Barkley, the Rams, especially after, I mean, this was the game plan coming in, but especially after the Hurts injury, they were really stacking the box against the Eagles' run game. And the Eagles just continued to run in to those loaded boxes. And, like, at a certain point when teams are getting that over committed to the run, you've got to do something different. Run the swing pass out to the flat like they ran from, I think it was right before half. Run the little swing pass out of the flat. Get some runs to get some outside zone runs. Do some sort of play action, and like, it's the low percentage. Just toss up a deep ball to AJ Brown and make a defense think about if they want to leave guys on an island. But Saquon Barkley had 13 carries for 163 yards outside the tackles and 12 carries for 42 yards inside the tackles. Again, the interior offensive line was not getting it done in the middle. And he has his 2 long touchdown runs Outside of that, he had 24 carries at 2.7 yards per carry.
Yeah.
The run game wasn't winning consistently. Saquon Barkley only had a 35% rushing success rate because the Rams were overcommitting to stop the run. The Eagles have to have a counterpunch. He broke that big run to give the Eagles a 2-score lead. You can't rely on that. Like, that can't be all that your offense has. It's great when it happens, but too much is being like Saquon it's a testament to how great a player he is to rush for 200 yards in those conditions with no threat of a passing attack. The Eagles got to give some more to take guys out of the box.
And Shane, I think you said it right. I was not sure why they weren't running outside more, where obviously it's going to be tougher for the defense to gain the traction, run outside, make them have to move laterally, because when you do that, you're going to gain almost 4 or 5 yards every clip. I mean, Gainwell did it. The running back knows where they're going. The defense doesn't. So they're going to have to stop on a dime on those outside runs. To me, all the runs should have almost been going outside. That's where you could have really gashed them time and time and time again. But they just wanted to stick with what they knew. And it just was like, it was really, really frustrating.
Yeah. In 2 games versus the Rams, Saquon has 459 rushing yards, 325 yards after contact, 4 touchdowns, and all of those are over 60-plus yards. Sean McVay and crew are going to have nightmares about Saquon Barkley for a long time. Shake says if Howie doesn't pay Bond, he's got rocks in his head. Gainwell had 2. He had developed nicely as a returner and as that RB2. It'll be interesting to see what they do in the offseason with him going forward. We need to run Gainwell inside and Barkley outside. Shane, can you go back? How many times did they run outside versus inside one more time? Because I feel like the outside numbers were way higher than I thought.
Saquon had 13 carries for 163 yards outside the tackles, 12 carries for 42 yards inside the tackles.
Real time, I thought it was not 50-50 like that. I thought it was way more inside than outside. Yep. All right. Any other thoughts on the run game before we roll on? Going once,
nope.
Going twice. Keep the comments, guys. We'll get to the defense shortly. Everybody wants to talk about the defense in the comments. Let's get to the receivers. Dallas Goedert had a couple of really big plays receiving, again, coming up large. Devontae Smith had 4 targets, 4 receptions, 21 yards. A.J. Brown, 7 targets, 2 receptions. I'm going to go back and look at these numbers because this is something we haven't seen from A.J. Brown and Jalen Hurts in quite some time. They are not on the same page. A.J. Brown, whether he's hurt and so forth, that's a huge conversation. But there were some drops. There was Dallas Goedert yet again. Sorry, Ryan, showing that he's one of the biggest X factors on this team. Shane, lead us off, man. Any thoughts on the receiving group? It's
crazy. Jalen Hurts completed 100% of his passes that did not target A.J. Brown. That's kind of wild. Yeah, the passing game stunk. The passing game was awful. And it started great on the first drive when they came out on the first play and they ran a play action bootleg to Dallas Goedert. And I did like that they started to get back to that near the end of the game. And this was the type of game where that stuff works because it's hard to target downfield. It's hard for defenders to change directions. And so I liked that they started incorporating that into the game more late. They maybe went to the well one too many times there at the very end of the game, and it leads to the sack. But the pass game's not good enough, and the pass game hasn't been good enough. And I guess I'm saying the pass game hasn't been good enough. The Eagles won 14 games in the regular season, and they're headed to the NFC Championship game. So we can say that, but like the pass game needs to be better.
Yeah.
And we're going to see, next week, hopefully better weather conditions. Hopefully Jalen Hurts' knee is fine and we're able to get going, but you need A.J. Brown to step up and you need Devontae Smith to be more involved in the passing game. And, Otherwise, you're going to keep relying on the defense and the run game to carry this team. And that's not bad. You can win that way. You just got to be able to flip that switch if you need it. And the Eagles haven't needed it often, but if they find themselves needing it in the playoffs, I will be concerned.
Yeah. This isn't even about the receivers at this point. I'm just more hung up on Jalen Hurts and Kellen Moore just not being on the same page. They're just not. And whatever's going on is just not working. Any thoughts, Rob, on the receivers before we get into the defense?
I mean, you guys have covered it. The passing game needs work. AJ, something's not right, but listen, we can say all this and they could come out next week and light the world on fire, a la 2017 when they couldn't move the ball on offense. They win a game 15-10. We're concerned because they're facing the high-powered Minnesota Vikings who are scoring at will, and they put up 38 points and, just dominate the NFC Championship game. I'm not saying that's going to happen, but anything, this league is so week to week. And this year, more than most, I feel like it really has been a week to week league all around the NFL, So, it definitely needs work. But listen, if the Eagles can flip a switch and win with defense and running the ball, then go ahead and do it. But I'd like to see it better for sure.
The play action pass at the end there, when did you just run the ball? Like just Kellen Moore, just way too much big brain stuff happening. Like just do what your team does best. Stop getting cute. And we've seen this time and time again. Stop shooting yourself in the foot. Just get out of your own way and let this team do what they do best. It's what it is. The false start, the ineligible downfield, ineligible.
Can they change that penalty? I mean, it's like I hate that penalty. I know it's a penalty, but I hate it. Like, give them a little bit more leniency, or you could throw a flag every time there's a screen pass. It's ridiculous.
Yep. Hurts was cooking the Commanders last time he got hurt. Him and Saquon. Hurts sometimes just needs to do a McNabb, throw at the ball at the receiver's feet. Even the one slant to AJ was so far behind him. I forget which quarter that was in. But anyway, any other thoughts on the offense before we get to defense?
Nope.
Let's get to the defense. And, man, not a lot to complain about. Darius Slay, Zach Bond, CJ GJ, Oren Burks, Reed Blankenship tied for the lead in tackles today. But really the star of this game, I thought, was Jalen Carter. He had 2 sacks, 2 tackles for loss, 5 total tackles. Came up big when they needed him. They actually drew a holding call for the first time in probably months. That was a thing. I could not believe it. I was laughing, rolling on the ground. Shane, what were your thoughts on the defense?
Yeah, how about that? Calling a penalty, somebody holding Jalen Carter.
Yeah.
I knew at some point, some offensive lineman would try to hold him. I'm surprised it took this long, that, every other block's clearly been clean, but eventually somebody was going to try to hold Carter. So I'm glad they caught that one. But no, I mean, the defense was awesome, except for, that second to last drive and a good portion of the last drive when they got the lead and you started to freak out. But
yes.
Nolan Smith, awesome game.
Yes.
Jalen Carter with the sack at the end. He also has a punch out. Isaiah Rodgers scooping that fumble up and running it all the way back to the 10-yard line. Like, there were so many good plays. And there were also so many plays this defense left on the field. Isaiah Rodgers has an interception in his hands that turns into a completion. Darius Slay has an interception in his hands that gets dropped. Like, there was a lot of plays still left on the field for this defense, which is kind of crazy when we talk about how good this performance was. And it was good. It could have been even better. And so shout out to the defense. The defense is I remember like all offseason being like, if the defense can just be average, this team's going to be so good. Mm-hmm. Well, the defense is the best defense in the NFL and the offense is average. And this team is so good. Like, the defense has been phenomenal. You can't say enough good things about them.
Oren Burks. Brandon says, didn't hear Burks' name. I thought I heard his name quite a bit. He had the 2 tackles for loss.
He had a couple big plays down the stretch.
Yeah,
was a deflection. There was a deflection on a third down
at the end there. That was a big play. I thought Burks was terrific, and I was very critical of him last week. Rob, I mean, Shane, you nailed a lot of it. I mean, Nolan Smith, just making us all forget Hassan Reddick. Rob, where do you want to go?
I want to go with the guys that had to step up, like the Oren Burkses, like the Isaiah Rodgers, right? You have these injuries come up, and these guys, Oren Burks had to go in for the guy Nakobe Dean has been calling the plays on the defense. He's been a leader for them this year, and I thought he played as well as you could have asked him to play. Isaiah Rodgers, yes, would have loved for him to come down with that pick. But I thought he made a couple nice plays in this game. He was where he needed to be most of the time. That next man up mentality that, NFL teams swear by really came to fruition today. Even guys that didn't necessarily come in for injuries, but Moro Ajomo, a sack. Jalix Hunt, a sack, right? These are young guys that are being put on the field in a playoff game in a big situation and coming up with huge plays. And so when you say it was a full defensive effort, it was a full defensive effort. It wasn't, yes, Jalen Carter's going to get the highlights, and he damn well should because he's unbelievable. Darius Slay is going to get the highlights because he's a star player. But those other guys, those fringe guys, really made plays today and honestly were a big part of why the Eagles won the game.
Especially at the end there, because I feel like the pass rush wasn't that great for the majority of the game. John says Q is apparently good to go this week. I'm looking up my Twitter. It seems like Q is saying he's going to be good. Good, that is huge.
You need to hear what that injury is before. You know what I mean? Like he may say that he could say that all he wants, but I want to hear from somebody that is a doctor that he can play, because that kills you. There were 3 or 4 completions in that game that are not completions when Quignon's in the game.
Yeah, you don't want to go to Mr. Rogers' neighborhood. Nobody does. Oren Burks was great when going downhill, but he gets picked on in a bit in the run game. Great comment there. Sack Van Buren. I like it. A.J. Brown drops and Goddard screen called back were brutal. In Georgia, we trust. I told you Burks was better this week. Well said, Tech. I like Rodgers, but teams are telling us what they think of him for sure. Best defensive roster in the league. Burks was up and down. He missed a few tackles to spring Kyron Williams, but also not too many, and had the batted pass. Ricks and Rodgers were always in position despite whatever complaints you might have. Defensive backs were just overall bad at the catch point. And they were like tough catches too. Like they battled for sure. John says Jalen Carter is just a winner. The punch out in the final drive was huge.
Yeah.
What was it that said DeJean was going to get his first? Who was it that said DeJean was going to get his first pick? I'm not sure. Was that one of you? Was that you, Shane?
No.
Do you have a clip of that one too?
I don't remember that.
Best post-game show, Slade. He was targeted heavily, man. He had a busy day for sure.
Yeah, I mean that Puka catch, he jumps a little bit early, and it's a really well placed ball and a really good catch. He jumped maybe a split second early and is coming down as that ball goes over his hand. Yeah, that's tough. Tough.
Darius Slay was targeted 16 times in this game.
Wow.
Which is the most by any player in a playoff game in the next gen stats era.
Wow.
It feels like it too. Like he was, I feel, on the screen all the time. According to next gen stats, Jalen Carter played 68 of 70 snaps and was double teamed on 26 of his 49 pass rushes.
Yeah, I watched that a lot closer than I normally do today. It's unbelievable. I mean, he's up against a double team, but when they don't double team him, you see what happens. Like you understand it. Like he just eats you alive one-on-one. You can't block him one-on-one. It's impossible.
No.
Yeah, Matthew Stafford. I talked about on preview stuff that it was vital to pressure him without blitzing. When he was pressured on 13 dropbacks in this game, and he completed 4 passes for 34 yards. When he was not pressured, 37 dropbacks, he completed 22 passes for 290 yards. Incredible
and
splits.
Those last two plays of the game, the sack, and then Carter was in there again and got the pressure and the knockdown, and that's why that ball never had a chance to get to the receiver, because Jalen Carter was in his face.
Yeah. And we can't forget this play, Nolan Smith with the strip sack. I mean, this guy is just coming into his own, going against Rob, I believe, Havenstein, a very solid right tackle. He's the guy for the Rams. He's been there forever. And this was one of my matchups to watch. And, man, Nolan Smith strip sack. Hopefully this is something we get to see for many, many years going forward after Howie brings back Zach Ball this offseason. Man, it was phenomenal. Phenomenal moment for Nolan Smith. Any other defensive takeaways?
Yeah, I mean, you got to shout out Oren Burks. Oren Burks had a rough game last week, and he caught a lot of flack this week. Anytime I tweeted or mentioned anything about him, people piled on in the comments about how he's garbage and you got to play Trotter and all this stuff. And I said, like, he played well in week 17 and 18 when he was given starter reps. And I thought he played well today. He had a few moments that weren't great, but at the end of the day, he leads the team. And he's tied with Chauncey Gardner-Johnson for the team lead on defensive stops with 4. He made a few really big plays in the game. So shout out to Oren Burks and shout out to Moro Ojimo. 2 backups coming in and making big plays for the Eagles. You love to see that from the defense, and you love to see Isaiah Rodgers step in. And I didn't think he played great, but he was fine. He's weak at the catch point, and that drives me crazy from a cornerback. But a next man up mentality, and you can preach that, but all of a sudden you enter the playoffs with all 11 starters, and all of a sudden in this game you're down like 3 of them pretty quickly. And so shout out to those guys for stepping in and making an impact.
Yeah. Oren Burks has Super Bowl pedigree. People got to remember that. He was on that San Francisco team that got there a couple years ago, or what was it, last year? Yeah, Jesus. Years are running. This game took years off my life. That's the only thing I know about years.
It's weird, too, because we haven't had a lot of games like this this season. So it's
well, and maybe you take that as a positive, right? We wanted to see, can the Eagles win when adversity strikes, when they're not at their best? And they did. They found a way.
Absolutely. Brett Eclipse says Nolan Smith and Jalen Carter combined for 10 pressures, 5 hurries, 3 sacks, 2 fumbles, and 3
a partridge in a pear tree.
And 2 forced fumbles too. Abdul Carter wants to be an Eagle so bad. We'll just have to talk to his agent and make sure all NFL teams know that he will not play for anybody.
Or just trade your next 5 first-round picks to get up and get him.
I think it's worth mentioning the Rams are playing for the whole city. I was going through a lot. Agreed. Great comment there, John. Turnover battle won, team won. Trend continues. Well said, Cameron. Can't win a Super Bowl with this interior offensive line and quarterback play.
Why? Tell me why. I mean,
the recipe works. I agree, Rob. Like it's painful at times, but it works.
That's what I mean. Like it's a blanket statement that I don't know if you can make that right now, because they've won 16 games this year. They've won 16 of a possible 19 that they've played. So I get what you're saying. I understand the frustration. Trust me, we all have it. But who's to say you can't win that way?
Mm-hmm. All right, let's get to anybody have any other thoughts on defense before we get to player of the game? Yeah, didn't get the axe from Jeremiah Trotter Jr. I was hoping we would. The axe drop, that would have been amazing. What an amazing moment, but maybe next week. We'll see. Shane, lead us off, man. Who is your player of the game?
Man, this is a tough one this week. I'll just take Saquon. He was the Eagles' only offense because I don't want to split hairs on defensive players, a lot of whom had a really good game. So give me Saquon Barkley, 26 carries, 205 yards, 2 touchdowns, added 27 yards through the air. Eagles going to ride Saquon Barkley to a Super Bowl.
Nice. Yeah, that's a great pick. He's such a ridiculous force of nature there, man. Give me Jalen Carter. Sorry, Rob. I'm going Jalen Carter. Again, 5 tackles, 3 quarterback hits, 2. If I have an opportunity to take Jalen Carter, I'm taking him. God damn it. Man, he was just a monster. He's a straight-up superstar. He did have a deflection as well, just showcasing why he's the best defensive player in football. Who's your player of the game, Rob?
I'm going to say Darius Slay, just from when you think about the amount of volume thrown at him today. And, up until those last 2 drives, that offense had scored, 13 points in the game. It's impressive, man. Like, this is a guy that has to deal with a lot of it. People rip him here because he's outspoken and he said a lot of things. But the guy has shown up when he's healthy, and he's played really well this season. And I thought he played, for the most part, a really solid game against some really good receivers out there in Los Angeles.
Do we talk about Jake Elliott? I don't know if we did. Did we?
I don't want to talk about him. Just move to the center on the goddamn extra point. Just do it.
Because, he was legit. I remember thinking, towards, the end of the third quarter, fourth quarter, he was probably going to be my player of the game. If he continued to not screw up, I probably would, he was clutch there with those 3 field goals, and then he missed the PAT again. I don't understand. I don't understand. We've got a lot of Jalen Carter comments.
Hey, Pumper's here.
Pumpman's here.
Pumper came in.
Yeah. You should have been here earlier, Pumpman.
With his
should have been here earlier, dude. We were very critical on Jalen Hurts. Pumpman is our resident Jalen Hurts hater.
He's a resident negative guy. He's just negative.
All right.
Or he insults me and Ryan. One of the two is what's normally going on with him.
Keith says Slay is having his best year in 2 of the last 3 years. Yeah, I agree. He's been very, very solid. All right, let's get to Eagles game in 3 words or less. Go ahead, Shane.
All right, so every week we put out on Twitter asking for your guys' 3-word reactions to the game. So head over to Twitter at Eagles Pin Pull. I also retweet it every week, so you guys can drop your 3-word reactions, and we'll read some of our favorites on the air. First up, we have Connor Stallions giving us the thank you Giants for Saquon Barkley. Then we have Daryl Morey with a cut Jake Elliott. Nico dropped a thank you Saquon. Ryan said, please send defibrillator. My Apple Watch agreed with that one. Dan gave a Kellen can leave. Max said a BRB throwing up. Winston chimed in with Jalen Carter forever. We got, I don't know how to pronounce this name. The handle is Kalos the Great said, glad it's over. I sympathize with that as well. Jay gave us a need AJ Brown involved. And then MK Songbird with the win of the season, dropping a GIF with 3 words in the 3 words or more with a whatever it takes of Captain America. So there you have it, guys. The 3-word reactions from Twitter. You guys can drop yours here in the chat as well. And we can shout some of those out. For my 3 words, though, I mean, I'm going to go with worried about Hurts. I'm worried about that knee. I'm worried because the Eagles, it is probably a good thing that they were willing to do a tush push and that they did a few rollouts. So hopefully the knee will be fine, but I'm highly worried about that because if his mobility is not there, it's such a massive detriment to this offense. So worried about Hurts. We can put knee in parentheses. That's what I would do if I was tweeting it so people wouldn't misread what I'm saying. But I'm very concerned about that.
All right. Let's get to some comments real quick. Anthony says, Hurts keeps winning. Brad Eclipse says, absolutely no words. Brandon says, defense remaining. Best defense remaining. Let's see. 2 more wins, says John. Toilet paper YouTube says Pumper is better. Quinion come back. Pumper is stupid. All right. Rob, do you have an Eagles game in 3 words or less?
Oh my God. Because I think I said it in the various meanings that those three words can mean at least 50 times in this game. I said it joyfully. I said it sadly. I said it excitedly. I said it angrily. I said it over and over again. That's how this game will be remembered. And I said, oh my God, when I actually got dizzy and thought my heart was stopping at one point as well. So I said it out of pure fear at one point as well. So that's me.
Can I do something stupid like Philly Bulldogs for life, and do like a 4 life, like the number 4 in
that
one
would
word?
be four. That would be 4 things.
Yeah,
3 words or less.
No, if you did fine.
That's the kind of thing that somebody would put on Twitter, and I would say that I can't read it because it breaks the rules. But if it didn't break the rules, I would read it while doing that thing where I actually read it anyways. But your call, man.
Philly Bulldogs forever. Jalen Carter is just a beast. He's a straight beast. Nolan Smith having his best moment. Awesome to see the Dogs have and make their imprint in the biggest game of the year. That's what we are hoping to see. And I mean, it's almost the expectation for Jalen Carter to do these kind of things on a weekly basis. But to see Nolan Smith back-to-back weeks have his name be on the same tier of Jalen Carter and Zach Bond and guys like that, it's awesome, man. It's a good feeling. I just wish Nakobe Dean was here to enjoy it. That's my take. Pumper blows. All right. What are the early thoughts on the Commanders game? Anybody have quick?
Yeah, I have 3 words or less for that, and people are going to say I'm crazy. Rather have Detroit. I'm being dead ass serious because nothing scares me more than a hot team who's playing with a lot of confidence, and a quarterback that is wise beyond his years, as Jaden Daniels has proven to be. But yeah, I'm sure as the week goes on, that'll change. But right now, I'm a little concerned. I'm not going to lie to you.
Shane, any thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I'll get into this stuff more in the week, but I think the Eagles can handle whoever came out of that Detroit-Washington game. Jaden Daniels is on a heater right now, but the rest of the Commanders, their roster just doesn't stack up to what the Eagles have. And it's going to be in Philly. You got to assume that's going to massively favor the Eagles. I think it opened at like 4.5-point Eagles favorites right now, which tells you it's pretty close. But I feel good about that game. I feel good about what the Eagles defense did to Jaden Daniels last time they played and what the Eagles offense was doing before Jalen Hurts got knocked out of the game. So health is key, but I'll feel good about this one.
This is my favorite one so far. Dean never forgot.
You guys are talking like Nakobe Dean's dead. Like Deibs was like, it's a shame Nakobe Dean. He's like, it's a shame Nakobe Dean wasn't here to enjoy it. I'm like, dude, he was on the sideline. Like,
yeah, he was there. He walked in today. I saw him walked in with Zach Bond. He was there, guys. He's alive.
If Hurts is healthy, I think we could run on Washington. Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's really just the interior O-line versus the Washington interior D-line. That's going to be something
Let's
we're
keep in
talking
mind.
about all week.
Let's keep in mind, Detroit turned the ball over, 4 times in that game? A fumble and 3 interceptions. You know, the Eagles have, knock on wood, been not turning the ball over, and that's going to obviously be crucial. I think that's how Washington gets on a roll, is if they turn you over. So, that'll play into it.
Yep. Eagles were rolling in that first quarter after Hurts went down. So
Detroit had a 58% success rate offensively against this Washington defense. They just kept turning the ball over. You don't turn the ball over, you can move the ball on Washington.
Yeah.
Yep.
3 times, I think they turned it over inside the 20, I feel like.
Yeah, something like that.
Did Sam Cosmi tear his ACL?
Yeah, he's out. He's done.
Wow, that's huge.
Yeah,
I didn't know that was official. I know he got hurt, but I didn't know.
I don't think that's official.
Quinn said he was out for the year in a press conference today. That's what I saw.
Oh no, yeah, it is official. It came out official during the Eagles
right
game,
in the beginning of the game. Right in the beginning of the Eagles game, Quinn said something that he was out for the year.
Yeah, I knew it sounded like he was probably going to be out, but yeah, it is official. So
that was.
I don't want Joel Embiid anywhere near the Eagles Commanders game. Period.
Josh Harris should know better and even show up in that damn stadium. If
Josh
he shows,
He shouldn't. Yeah, he should be nowhere near Philadelphia.
Listen, if he shows up, I want snowballs saved in a freezer for people to pelt at that punk ass who doesn't give a damn about the other team. Never mind. I'm not going there with him. Screw him. I hope they lose bad just because of Josh Harris.
Noom says, what happened to Rodgers? Is there any update on Isaiah Rodgers?
It looked like an ankle.
I don't know.
It looked bad from the first look. Cosme played really well against Jalen Carter last time. Absolutely. What slows down a hit rookie quarterback, a veteran D coordinator? Absolutely. And I said this weeks ago.
Touchdowns against them 4 weeks ago.
Pump Man's in agreement with Rob.
Yes.
Let's wrap this thing up. I don't believe we have any further segments tonight.
No.
Shane, final thoughts on the game, plugs. Let's wrap it up.
Yeah, Eagles hosting an NFC Championship game. Shout out to the Commanders for helping make that possible, knocking off the Lions. And listen, the defense has played really well through 2 playoff games. The pass game hasn't been at the level you'd want it to be, but as long as the defense continues to play the way that they've been playing, the Eagles can win any football game. And so I've got a lot of confidence in Vic Fangio and the defense. I feel good about the direction that Commanders game was headed before Jalen Hurts got healthy. So hopefully, or before he got injured. So hopefully Hurts is healthy. Hopefully Q comes back and the Eagles are ready to go. I can't wait for next Sunday already.
What about you, Rob?
Listen, they won the game. And I think doing this podcast helped calm me down because I was pretty revved up coming down here to do it. Yeah, look, now you get ready. All right. Another week of preparation. It's a team you know very well. It's a team that took one late from you in a game that you really should have won. The Eagles are once again, it's the Eagles are the better football team. Now they got to come out and they got to show up for 60 minutes. Hopefully with a little bit better offensive game plan, and the defense just keeps doing what it's doing, which is making big plays and big moments. And, we could be heading to New Orleans, boys.
A lot to be excited about, guys. If you're not already subscribed to the Eagles Pinpoint Network, what are you doing? Make sure you check us out on X, on Facebook, YouTube, wherever you're watching. Make sure you like tons of Eagles content throughout the week. I know specifically, personally, Birds of the Round Table Tuesday. Tuesday night at 8 p.m. East Coast time. Full preview of Eagles versus Commanders. Rob was so stressed he grew hair.
Marshawn picks up right where he left off on Monday. He's just owning my life the last week.
All right, but again, one last time, guys, if you love the Eagles, if you love Nolan Smith, if you love Jalen Carter, give this video a like. Help us out. He is Shane Haff at Shane Haff NFL. Check out Chalk Talk and on the Shane page, which will be going in depth of everything we watched today. My man Rob and I, we do Party on Broad, multiple shows a week, shorts every day. Go check us out there. He is Shane. He is Rob. I am Deibs. Thank you, everyone, for watching. Go Birds. Stay awesome.